All right, Algorators, it's Friday Eve here at Celebrity Court. Come on in, come on in. Welcome, Linnell Seiler. Welcome back to Celebrity Court. Christine B., welcome back to Celebrity Court. Venetia Phillips. Oh, Venetia, you've been with us ever since the beginning, as well as you, Christine B. Welcome back to Celebrity Court. Sexy Brain TV. Welcome to Celebrity Courts. Welcome back, Brenda O. Welcome back to Celebrity Court. Jason Weiss, you have way too much time on your hands, counselor. JP Mills, welcome back to Celebrity Court. Tanya McNeil, welcome back. Welcome back. SL, welcome back. Kenny Black, welcome back. Tiffany HR, welcome back. And Tori 0818, welcome back to Celebrity Court. Tonight's episode is titled Divorced, Dismissed, Detained and Sampled, and the Price of Celebrity Power. All right, everybody, tonight's celebrity status collides with legal consequences. We have a hip-hop wife files the papers, a sports legend fumbles his TV legacy, a baller gambles but gets busted, and Queen Bee, she may be flawless, but her labels got a lawsuit. In this courtroom, we don't care if you're charted, we care if you cheated. All right, helping me to enforce that there's no cheating, please welcome our legal beagles. I'm going to welcome Counselor Turner, Counselor Carter, Counselor Ashley Carter, Counselor Weiss. All of you, welcome back to Celebrity Court. How's everybody feeling tonight?
Good.
All right. Be sure, algorithm and viewers, drop your verdicts in the comments when we get to that. Smash that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and share button and take a side because court is officially in session.
Stop picking on me.
Sorry?
Not you. The other counselors were having a little joke.
All right.
We just go ahead and get our glasses off like a Shaitan.
Oh, they do it. They put. All right, I'm reading the prompter. All right, before we get started, we're going to do a viewers poll. First up, should private settlements cost you your job? That is the poll that we're going to start with. Algorithm, jump down in the comments. Should private settlements settling privately cost you your job? All right, let's hit yes or no. Yes or no, jump down in the chat. I want to see where your minds are tonight. Should private settlements cost you your job? Okay, first up on the docket tonight, we have Drika Gates versus Kevin Gates. Wow, the wellness queen is divorcing the rap philosopher. But is this peace or prenup warfare? All right, Drika Gates filed for divorce in California, citing irreconcilable differences after being married for 9 years. And the date of separation that she's put on the paper, July 10th, 2025. Possible shared assets also filed are music royalties, as well as her wellness brand ventures. Now, we know in California is a community property state, and unless there's a prenup, assets earned during marriage are split 50-50, period, no questions asked. Bailiff, take it away. Let's see what we got.
The moment when, I didn't see you guys together a lot.
Life.
Okay. Life was lifing.
Life was lifing, and life's for everyone.
I'm married too, so I can put two and two together.
Yes.
But okay, but you got fans.
Life was fucking lifing. I swear. Like, that's really all it boils down to.
Did you take a break, from the traveling?
Yes, I no longer tour like that. I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
That is not something that I do. But at the end of the day, it's like my best friend. We've been together since we were babies. Like, we've literally been together for 20 years.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a long time.
You know what I'm saying? To be with someone, and you have to think that we're both coming into this relationship. We're both bringing our own shit into this relationship. So to be honest with you, like the time when you guys weren't seeing us together, we're really just like working on ourselves. That's what I was doing. That's what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, again, like, that's my best friend. So.
I don't know that I buy that.
He was working on himself and working on others.
Other women too. I don't know if I buy that, but unlike how we usually talk about the man's assets, let's go to you, Attorney Turner, because this is what I want to talk about. Kevin Gates allegedly helped Drake launch her brand, right? And her brand is, pretty successful, making, north of millions of dollars. Can he claim a portion of that as they start to unravel this marriage?
So in California, the way that this works, and as Attorney Weiss is saying, yes, can. So what you have to think of the concept of marital assets. And so you have one person who might be more famous or more wealthy, but because of the way they view this in California, which is community property as opposed to an equitable distribution state, that means that the collective assets, which would be her company and his company, would be fair game to distribute in the event that there is no prenup.
All right, let's go to you, Attorney Carter, because I want to hear your perspective on this. Now, one thing that we know about Drake and Kevin Gates is that they are practicing Muslims. And in that, I guess it would be considered a religion, he is allowed to have multiple wives, correct? Does that have any influence or play on how this is going to play out? Because one of the things that irreconcilable differences is that he cheated. We all saw that he participated in Basketball Wives with Brittany Renner, right? No, what's her name?
Renner.
We know her name. Brittany Renner. So is he really cheating? If he's able to have multiple wives, he married her, he divorced her a month later, but he married her. What say you?
As far as the irreconcilable differences, understand that in California, she don't need any reason. All right, she don't need to know if he didn't have to cheat. She could have just left the toilet seat up. As a matter of fact, he don't even have to. He could sit with it on the toilet seat and with it down. All right, it doesn't matter. She could just simply say, you know what, your breath stink in the morning. Matter of fact, your breath smell good. I still don't like you. So regardless of any religion, it doesn't really matter. And certainly the cheating part probably doesn't give you a religious claim. She doesn't need any reason at all. Now, what is interesting here, and Attorney Turner sort of, you guys touched on it a little bit. You notice that she filed for divorce and dated the date of separation 3 months before their 10th year anniversary. You know why? California has a 10-year cutoff, but once you get to 10 years, then you have a long-term marriage. The difference is between a short-term and a long-term marriage is that when you get spousal support, if it's a short-term marriage, it's usually about half the time you've been married. So if you've been married for 5 years, you get 2.5 years of support. All right. If you have a long-term marriage, they can make you support that person for pretty much the rest of their lives. Now, here's the weird thing is,
so why would she, I want you to get back to the weird thing. Why would she file if she knows she has the opportunity to be supported for the rest of her life?
Because she don't want that fool getting her money for the rest of her life. See, she done figured out that she's got the better income going forward. And so she pushed this like, hey, we got to get this off before I have long-term obligations to this fool.
Very clever. All right, let's go to you, Attorney Ashley Carter. This is your lane. Let me ask you this question. Are California divorces fair? Or is this financial warfare with legal lip gloss?
I mean, I guess, how do we define fair? Not to sound like a law professor, but I mean, it's how you define fair. I definitely think what I find, and this is kind of what Attorney Sean Carter just kind of referred to here, Drika saw that if she waited too long, Kevin may have ended up getting more out of the deal than her, especially if moving forward, her businesses are more lucrative. I can't even name the last song he rapped. I can't tell you the last thing that charted with him, right? So what I will say to your question is, I think what's interesting about California in divorces is that celebrities, especially female celebrities, are typically getting long time ago, the women were winning in Hollywood. But as you can see, women are winning more in Hollywood than men. Look at Kelly Clarkson. She's still paying out. Who else? There was somebody else that had to pay out. Rachel Lindsay from The Bachelor. There are a lot of women that are really winning in Hollywood. And so now they're basically the man. So,
well, shouldn't they do? Like, what's the problem here? Shouldn't they? If they make the most money, if they are the breadwinner,
I hear you.
And that,
Just
and
like if
to
the
your
man
point,
was a
that's
breadwinner,
why
he
it's
had to
being
pay off.
applied. That's why it's being applied that way. I could argue either way why it should or should not, but I hear what you're saying. So if it was applied to
Okay,
the
hold
man,
on. I want to unpack this. Sean Carter, Jason, help me out here.
Mhm.
Why should there be a difference in gender? If the woman is the breadwinner, she should have to pay as if she was a man. If the man is a breadwinner, he has to pay. How can you possibly argue both sides?
It needs to be looked at blindly, right? You look at the incomes of the two. If person number one makes more, then person number one is going to pay. If person number two makes more, person number two is going to pay. That's how it works.
I'm gonna let Shatan argue the other side. Shatan, go ahead.
I know. Well,
Ain't gonna work in this court. Ain't gonna work in this court.
It is gonna work.
But where do you draw the line, right? Because it could be if there are so many different factors. You're only supposed to look at the income, right? If it's the income and she is out there earning the money while he is staying home with the kids, why should it? If the roles were reversed,
home with the kids though.
Probably it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Ladies, it doesn't matter. All right, hold on. Let's go to
Here's why it needs to be revisited. Here's why it needs to be revisited. Is because it's not, in most households, it's not a gender neutral household. So the way that the divorce law is designed is like in community property states, it was to equalize the point that Attorney Weiss mentioned, that there are other ways to contribute to the household. And as a result, the assets that are earned during that marriage should be equally. However, in this case, he was running the streets, it looks like, marrying other women, and he was pursuing a music career. He wasn't supporting the household. And so what I'm saying is, it doesn't allow.
I can't agree with that.
But wait a second. If a married couple
millions of dollars, a lot of his records been very successful.
He has a line talking about, do not touch me there. That is my no square.
Ladies, please, ladies. I know you're passionate, but we cannot overtalk each other. Come on now. All right, let's go. Attorney Turner, what are you saying?
I said, please do not touch me there. That is my no square was not music genius. Stutter was not a huge song. And so like maybe he should have spent his time taking care of those two children and contributing to the household. What I'm saying is,
I can't sit here and let you bash him like that. He's done very successful. He's considered very successful. He's very talented. He sells out his venues. Let's not discredit the man because we don't want his
lyrics.
Right, exactly. So I find it so interesting because even lawyers can be biased and they understand the law. How can percentages and allocations and these formulas that they come up with that we legally support all the time until it comes to us? How is it that those formulas are great until it affects you or you don't like them?
But they're not
go that far.
The thing is that here's the thing, and I've said this before, and I've said this a lot on my blog, right? Women marched in the 60s and burned bras for the opportunity to have parity in the workplace, right? There's no man ever who marched anywhere or even walked in order to do more household chores, right? There's no man who marched to do laundry. There's no man to march to do more childcare. And so the contributions in the home tend to be really inequitable. Now in California, where it's a community property state, as Attorney Weiss indicated,
I can't. I understand what you're saying, Counselor. No, ma'am. Counselor, I understand what you're saying, but we got to explore the entire history of men and women and male and female relations and the responsibility of a man being a husband and the responsibility of a woman being a wife. We can't just join it in the 60s. I know Sean Carter is very quiet. He must want some tonight from his wife, so he's not jumping in.
Here's the thing is, and I totally understand, all right, Attorney Turner's point. In most marriages, women probably handle more of the domestic stuff. So if you're both working, she handles more of the domestic stuff. And I got to tell you something, ladies, tough titty. And here's what I mean by that. Literally, is that we can't have a marriage where I sit down and write down everything I do. Then my wife writes down everything she does, and then 8 years later we go to the judge, and he has to count. I gave the kids 32 showers, and she gave them 16 showers, but she did brush his teeth. You can't do that. It would make you, if you think divorce is expensive now, wait until you had to count up every time you took the kids to the doctor, etc. We have to have a simpler system to do this. And the way we have in California is beautiful. It says, hey, all the money that you make together, you treat it as a team, and then when you leave, you split the money in half. I don't know any fairer system than that, because we can't do the thing. And then, by the way, forget the chores with the kids. That's not all that marriage is. What about the times that I wanted to get some, but you weren't really in the mood? Do I get $3,500 for that? It would just be a mess if we did it that way.
Exactly. All right. What were you saying, Attorney Ashley Carter?
No, I think we can land there. I think at the end of the day, if we do too much back and forth, the divorces would never end. If you calculated every domestic thing, everything, I just think in general, you have these high-powered women that are also doing a lot in the household. So if a man was all of a sudden making a lot of money and then stop, it isn't contributing to the household, and they still get to walk away with more because now all of a sudden I'm making more money, I'm just going to still feel like that's still kind of unfair. But I hear you on trying to have a general rule that can be applied across the board. I understand what that's.
All right, let's go to some of the comments real quick. All right, so Brenda O says, think twice before marrying in California, stay together or lose it all. That's hey. Venetia Phillips says, Kevin Gates been rubbed me wrong way when he spit in that girl face and kicked that girl in her face. He went to jail, but I still just don't like him at all. I get it. One friendly face says, he's a joke, even successful. Why are you always on Shaitan? I'm not always on Shaitan. I just, when it comes to this, she knows what it is. Donnie Calendar, the same arguments are used against women as well. True. Death God said, Kevin is a bloody weirdo. LaShonda said, who are we talking about? We're talking about Kevin Gates. JP Mills says, Al, calm down. Nope, I'm the judge. It's my show. Do what the hell I want to do. Sorry. Like it or don't. We try to be.
I got a tip for the algoriters. If you're married and living in California and your spouse comes to you and says, let's move somewhere else, red flag should go up because they don't want to give you half of everything and they're planning something. There you go.
All right. Joni Evans says, yeah, she make more. She got to pay as well. I agree. Who else do we have here? Shaitan playing the victim over here with her. Please get off my line with that. Attorney, please get off my line. Kevin, your lyrics said you'll go to hell and back for Drake, and now you're just headed to court. If that love was real, split the assets with grace and don't be gaslighting us. All right, next up on our docket is Shannon Sharpe. Settlement or silence? He was everyone's favorite debate king until the accusations knocked him off air. In this particular case, we have a sexual assault lawsuit settled out of court. But guess what? ESPN says no more contract with us, and they end their contract negotiation, which would have made him a multimillionaire. Settlement terms sealed, no disparagement clauses like in effect. So the lesson here is a civil settlement doesn't equal guilt, but it often comes with silence. Media companies use those moral clauses to cut ties even without a trial. Bailiff, take it away.
Obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week. And really, the only thing that I really ask is like, guys, could we wait until Monday? My brother's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really wanted to be about him, and I wanted to be about my family. I know this coming out will overshadow everything that he's worked his entire life for. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. And so as I told him, as I profusely apologized to him earlier today, he said, bro, stop apologizing. You don't have to apologize. I'm your big bro. I'm going to love you regardless. We all make mistakes. And he says, bro, I love you. So I'm done with this. You're done with it too. Move on. And I really enjoyed my time at ESPN. It gave me an opportunity to bring my audience that saw me really just grow They saw me, you know, Lakers in 5, and they saw me say all these analogies that my grandparents gave me, and I was able to bring that to ESPN. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But I just wished, of all things, like I said, hey, they did what they felt they needed to do, and I'm at peace with that. But I just wish, guys, I just wish this thing could have waited until Monday, because I hate the fact that I'm overshadowing my brother, the first two brothers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this is what the headline's going to be for the next couple of days. So, bro, again, I know you told me this, I don't have to apologize, but I'm going to do it one final time tonight, and I won't apologize again. I'm sorry that I upstaged you in this manner. You know, that was never my intent. You've been my hero. You've been my role model from as long as I can remember. And I apologize, and I thank all my fans for supporting me when I was at ESPN and every place that I've been, be it Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, Undisputed, ESPN. Thank you guys for your support. Now,
all right, let's go to you, Attorney Carter, Sean Carter. Something about this did not settle well with me. Him addressing the ESPN, was this a deflection? Like it just didn't. It felt like he was completely out of touch with his privilege and his position and taking accountability with the separation, taking accountability with the settlement. What are your thoughts?
I thought he was better than I would have been. You fired me, I'm talking about your mama. All right, I'm gonna tell you that now. All right?
Hold on. Can we get Attorney Carter on the main stage, please?
That's a good warning for you, Bayuana. When you call me and tell me you don't want me no more, I'm gonna be on here talking about your mama. All right, I haven't even met today. I'm sure she's wonderful, but that's how I am. So he was better than a lot of people would be. He really, though, what could he expect? Because here's the thing: it's one thing to be accused of something, but when you pay $23 million to make it go away, I have a hard time believing that you didn't do nothing. You must have done something.
Right.
And I think you did worse than what you got accused of, because quite frankly, the going rate for sexual assault is not 23 million. All right. You can essay a lot of women for 23 million. All right. He not shopping at the right places. All right. And so for him to pay that kind of money makes me think that ESPN is worried that there's something else coming out there. Other people, this lawsuit could have involved other people coming forward and saying, oh yeah, he did that to me too, to corroborate it. And so he was trying to get out, not just from this, but for some other stuff as well. And as a result, they don't know what's coming next.
All right. Shelby Jenkins said, I'll be even more annoyed if I was his brother. Like, shut up. Let's go to you, Attorney Weiss. Attorney Weiss, maybe this is smart, right? We know he offered her $10 million. So $10 million to me, to say that you would settle for $10 million tells me that that woman knows something that you definitely don't want out. And the fact that she said, you know what, buddy, I know how bad this will hurt your brand and reputation. Screw you. I want more. Give me 50. And she landed half. What are your thoughts?
She's smart. He definitely did something wrong, because you don't pay that kind of money to go ahead and get rid of a suit, right? You get sued for something. There's always an economic value in a business decision that goes into a settlement. But $23 million is huge. Even her saying $10 million is huge. The other thing is this. Look, ESPN is 80% owned by Disney. Those morals clauses in there, those are very strong. All he had to do is he entered into this settlement agreement, and he should have known by talking to his agent, talking to his lawyers, talking to his confidants, that ESPN was going to say goodbye, because of the fact that the public now thinks he did something wrong, and that is it. If he would have just settled this at 10 million before a lawsuit, or done something and just hushed this and swept it under the rug, he wouldn't have to worry about the fact that he is distracting from his brother going into the Hall of Fame this weekend.
All right,
nobody would have thought twice about it.
All right, let's go to you, Attorney Turner and Attorney Ashley Carter. I want to hear your ideas on this. When I look at this situation, this is what I see. I see that she specifically came in at this time when his contracts were in negotiation, asking for a large sum of money, because she knew that asking for that money. Remember when he made that first offer, it was all behind closed doors, right? And she came in at the time. I think that lawyer, whoever she's working with, is really smart. They came in at a time when they knew that his contracts were being negotiated. And she knew to ask for a lot of money because if this got out, he was going to lose those contracts. What are your thoughts on this, Attorney Turner and Attorney Carter, Ashley Carter?
First of all, I think that I agree with Afra Singh's about this statement he made, which is this was one of the most self-serving statements I've ever heard. And if I was his brother, I would not actually receive this as an apology, because what he could have done is pivoted. Like, I know this was a distraction, and then mentioned his brother's stats, right? But instead he goes on and on about his own situation. So I thought that was a little tacky. But the other thing is that he's screwed, to not like mince words. He neglected to settle early, like Attorney Weiss said. He gave her the money in order to salvage his reputation somehow, he thought. And now he's lost his big paycheck and other things are going to follow. And so Sterling might be living at Attorney Carter's house on the because he's going to be broke.
Attorney Carter, Ashley?
So a couple of thoughts. Number one, I echo what Jason mentioned about, Disney owning the majority of ESPN. And so you can't mess with Disney and their morality contracts. Absolutely. But I will have to respectfully disagree about him making a payment because he was necessarily guilty of something. When you look at the trajectory of what this would have looked like, if he had fought it, he actually ended up he would have ended up losing more.
The $23 million, Attorney Carter?
Yeah, because if you think about it, you got to continue to pay the lawyers. You have to continue to pay the lawyers. And remember, what she leaked in terms of the voice audio and the text was just the tip of the iceberg. There was more coming. So he looked at the trajectory of, if I drag this out for the next year or so in trial, more is going to come out. I'm going to lose more endorsements. And I have to pay attorneys. So he just did the math. Like, it's better to go back to the table and settle with her versus dragging this out, because his goal is to make sure he can continue to come in front of us. Why? Because we are the people that advertisers need to get in front of. So I don't need to know your kink play. I don't need to know your race play. I don't need to know how you like to have sex, right? I don't need to know these details. The more that was going to come out, it was going to hurt him in the long run. Also, you have to keep in mind, it wasn't like the evidence that they had released up to this point was very one-sided. There was a lot of evidence where she asked to be abused. She did the race play. I mean, there was a lot to show that she got paid to essentially be abused. So he could have fought it. He could have fought it. But I do think it would have hurt him longer in the long run. And I think some people say, well, what was the point of him settling? He lost ESPN. He was going to lose ESPN whether he settled or not, right? I think he was just trying to salvage everything else and also not paying any more legal fees. Whether he settled or not, he had lost ESPN the minute those voice notes came out about choking her specifically in public. Like, once that...
All right. Remember, let's go to Riri's comment. Shatan wasn't done speaking. I'll keep cutting her off and interrupted. I wanted to hear what she was saying. Ladies and gentlemen, we all have a time limit that we have to follow. Shatan is getting better at it, and we appreciate it. We've all talked about this in the chambers. So when she goes over her time limit, unfortunately, she has to get cut off. Sorry. Shatan and I are good. She's a very good friend of mine. I support and love her. We've gone to school together. We've known each other for over 30 years. I would never disrespect her professionally, but on this panel, we all have time limits, just like Attorney Carter. Don't forget, we have a time limit. All right, thank you for that explanation. I want to throw, before we close this out, Attorney Carter, Sean Carter. Tell me, is because this is what I'm trying to understand. Can we support victims while still defending due process? And why are media networks enforcing counsel culture without courtroom closure?
I think the reason is because they're so dependent upon public perception. If I'm a janitor somewhere All right. Nobody really cares. All right. As long as the floor is clean, we're good. But remember, Shannon's whole thing is to get in front of people. And remember, they don't want him. By the way, here's the thing that we all know about TV. It's not to entertain you. The purpose of TV is to sell you soap. All right. And Valtrex. All right. And ED mail. Okay. All they're trying to do is to sell you stuff. And so the person that's talking there is a big part of that. And attorney Ashley Carter and I mean, I respect what she has to say here, because I think he must have made that calculation that, you know, I will be better off paying this money out, but not having my reputation completely ruined. But in my mind, it's ruined. And I used to love me some Unc. I love me some Unc. But every time I see him now, I'm like, what did you really do, bro? Because the things that get me for $23 million are something that you would have thought you were going to prison for.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's what it sounds like to me. And I hear, I mean, I loved attorney Ashley Carter's explanation, but I feel like, remember, this what didn't happen by happenstance. He had 2 huge contracts coming in, right? Remember, he had the podcast contract with Club Shay Shay,
right,
and then he had the ESPN contract. He was about to take his career to the ultimate A-level as it related to income, as it related to exposure. He would be considered one of the most successful to ever do it. So I do hear you, Attorney Carter, when you say, you know, it is cheaper, cut it here, get it out the way, stop it, and try to save as much as you can. But there was something very detrimental here, right, Attorney Weiss, that I don't know that he could have won either way. What are your thoughts as we close this out?
So he definitely opened up his career to exposure. That's what the whole problem is. Right. He exposed too much. Look, if you ask a normal person that says, look, I'm going to take 60% of your entire life savings and your entire income because of the fact that, you know, you did this or did that, that's how you have to look at it. He's definitely made a decision that's something he didn't want out there, because I do agree with Attorney Carter and what she said about, you know, like it would have cost him. But I don't, even if you have the most high-powered lawyers and Brian Ross and all those guys on your side, you're not looking at $23 million. And definitely not. So, I mean, look, he couldn't have settled it for 10. He should have just gone to 12 or 13 or 15. He would have settled. He'd still have his job. He would do whatever. It would have been a public apology for whatever, and it moved on. But because he settled, and because of the accusations that got out, and because there was a lawsuit filed, Disney enacted the morality clause and said goodbye. And that's my 60 seconds.
All right, excellent. All right, Dominic Brooks, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. I know I'm just coming in, but give Shatan her time to talk. We will give her the time that everybody else gets. Sorry, everybody.
And I will say this also, just my last thoughts. She gets retired and he gets fired. Just keep that in mind. She gets to retire. And look, she gets to retire before he does. Now he really has to work because he has to continue to pay her and make up for everything he lost. That's the irony in all this. She actually got to retire.
When you retire too?
She's still on OnlyFans and Instagram. She's not retiring.
No, she retired. No, Jason. Jason, you must have missed it.
She retired. She said she retired.
Check out Instagram. She's still doing her thing.
No. She's still on Instagram, but she officially put up that she retired from OnlyFans.
Yeah. I think she's retired for now because it probably was a part of the settlement.
OnlyFans got her to where she is today.
Right.
Period.
$23 million payout. All right, guys, we got to keep it moving. All right, Algorithm.
I'm on OnlyFans as of tomorrow.
Hey, everybody, we got to keep it moving. Algorithms, the poll is, should Shannon Sharpe be dropped from ESPN without a criminal investigation? Drop down in the chat, yes or no. Yes or no. Should Shannon Sharpe be dropped from ESPN without a criminal conviction? Yes, to protect his brand, or no, innocent until proven guilty. This is what I think. Shannon, you may not have had your day in court, but your silence brought someone else's, right? You built a brand on being loud. Now the echo chamber is louder than you, and that is facts. All right, next up, Gilbert Arenas, high stakes and high consequences. No arenas, no NBA, but poker, that might cost Gilbert his freedom. Allegedly, Mr. Arenas ran an unlicensed high-stakes gambling ring in Encino, California from 2021 to 2022. He's facing federal charges and possible a 10-year sentence. Now, we understand under Code 18 U.S. Code 1955, illegal gambling operations, okay, that involve 5 or more people or make profit without a license are felonies, even if it's in your own house. Bailiff, take it away.
You better not.
Can't hold me, baby. You can't hold me. Hello.
All right, I want to go to you first, Sean Carter. Sean Carter, Kent Gilbert argued that it was just friendly poker and not a business, or what are the laws? Are those laws just across the board? And tell me why they are saying that even though playing poker is fine at home, but house games with cash is possibly RICO adjacent.
No, well, here's the thing is, you can play, all right? We decided to get together, play poker, that's fine. Here's what he was doing that went too far, all right?
Okay.
One, he had a house rake. In other words, it wasn't just friends get together, we all put in $50 in the pot, whoever wins, wins. The house was taking 20% of that out and saying, look, this is our money. And by the way, they also were furnishing, drinks and had a parker and had a valet parking, had massage girls and people who would massage you, not just your shoulders, but they might go a little lower too. All right. He was running a whole ass whole house. All right. In the mansion. He was also connected with an Israeli mobster who was co-running this stuff with him. By the way, I didn't even know there were Israeli mobsters. All right. I never saw.
Yeah.
I never saw. Yeah. I never saw Geldfellas, but I guess that should have been a movie instead of Goodfellas, because apparently the Jewish people got their own thing going on. And so, he actually was in, a lot of trouble. And the thing that's really interesting about this is I thought he would have been snitched on by somebody who lost a lot of money. It turns out the person who dimed him out was someone who was involved in the operation, because when the feds came to him, we don't know, but when the feds came to him, all right, they had receipts of, the take, how much you were making, etc. Nobody else at the table should have known that. All right, they should have known they lost their money, but they shouldn't have known about how much the parking was and etc. And the very last thing on that notice is Gilbert Arenas, from now on, don't walk around in flip-flops. All right, you're gonna go to jail, and let me tell you why I know you're going to jail. Forget the poker stuff. You lied to the feds. They charged you with that too.
Yep.
And it's just an important thing for the outrage. The only reason I'm here today, I want to let the outrage know this. When the feds come to you and ask you a question, they know the answer before they ask it. They're not curious. They don't want to know. And so if they come to you and say, hey, what did you have for dinner last night? You better tell them it was Popeyes. And let me tell you why. Because they already saw you at Popeyes. They got the video camera from Popeyes. They got the receipt from DoorDash. They got the bones that were in your garbage can. All right. Even the little sauce, that little honey sauce, they got that thing too. All right. They never ask you a question. They don't know. And when you get caught, this is what they always get you with. Because once they got you with that, they got him for a year on that, regardless. Now they'll start milking him for more information, try to get the Israeli mobster and all these other people. But the bottom line is, when they ask you a question, either plead the fifth or tell them the truth. They're not asking you just because they're curious.
So, Attorney Wise, let me ask you this. I think this is maybe some algorithms might find themselves in this position. Is it the same as if you are testifying in front of the grand jury? They pretty much are asking you questions. If you don't want to indict yourself, can you say when they're questioning you, I don't remember?
Mm-hmm. You could honestly say that you don't remember. You never have to. You don't have to speculate. You don't have to guess. You don't have to think about it. if you don't recall, you don't recall. But then they're going to go ahead and they're going to show you the text message. They're going to show you the video. They're going to show you the thing. So where were you last night for dinner? I don't recall. Well, according to Sean Carter, and we have video from his cell phone, you were at Popeye eating chicken. Here it is. Is that you? Oh, snap.
Wow.
Me. Here's one of the other things. He also rented out this mansion to others so others can use this facility for running the arena's poker. So he was making money off of allowing other illegal things to happen at this house. He should not wear flip-flops because he's going to be wearing them a lot in prison. And those are going to be his shoes of choice. And although they cannot hold him currently, he will be a resident of Club Fed soon, unless the real target is some of these other individuals and he turns on them and gives up and becomes, a witness for the government because there are bigger fish to fry.
Got it. All right, I'm gonna go to you, Attorney Turner. Tell me about this video, and I want the bailiff to show the video after I finish the question. How smart is it to post this type of video playing with the feds? Bailiff, take it away, and then let's hear Attorney Turner's response.
You better not.
Can't hold me, baby. You can't hold me. Hello.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's foolish, but not detrimental. He didn't say anything.
Can we get on the main stage, please?
He didn't indicate that he thought that the feds were stupid. He didn't say anything disparaging. He just did his little thing. Can't hold me, can't hold me. I mean, he's got some real problems. And so good for him for being able to have a lighthearted heart as he goes through potentially being in prison for a really long time. He might want to invest in some baby oil instead of flip-flops, but I think that the video doesn't give me a whole lot of pause because the content wasn't that damaging.
Got it. Attorney Carter, Ashley Carter, what are your thoughts?
At this point, I wouldn't give them any reason to continue to be on their bad side, but I don't think legally it does anything
to his case. I just think in the court of public opinion, it just really looks like you're playing. But anyway, Gilbert, you beat defenders in the NBA. But listen, buddy, Uncle Sam, he doesn't miss. Poker's fine, but house games with cash prizes, that's not VIP. That's Rico adjacent. All right, as we rotate into our fourth case, Parkwood Entertainment is sued over alien superstar sample. Oh no, not Beyonce. Beyonce didn't make the beat, but her empire might pay for it. All right, in this case, the indie label alleges Beyonce's team illegally sampled Moonraker in the intro to Alien Superstar. The defendants are Parkwood Entertainment, Sony, as well as Warner Chappell. Beyonce herself is not named. I just want everybody to know. Now, this is the lesson in law. If a license is obtained from the wrong rights holder, it's as if there's no license at all, which I can't wait for the attorneys to break down. That's still what they call infringement, even if the artist wasn't directly involved. Bailiff, take it away. Okay, so there's nothing to take away. All right, quickly, let's do a poll. Should artists be held liable when their label licenses a sample incorrectly? Drop down in the chat, algorithms. Should the artists be held liable when their labels license a sample incorrectly? Type in yes if their name is on the track, and type in B, no, blame the label. All right, let's go to you, Attorney Ashley Carter, since you are an entertainment attorney here tonight. And let me ask you, do mega labels cut corners on sample clearances?
I mean, typically they try not to because they try to avoid these type of suits. I mean, you can suffer up to $150,000 just statutory per infringement. So every time it was infringed upon, that, you know how many times that song has been played, both in concerts and
Wow.
I played it this morning. I mean, you know, so I just think it's one of her most popular songs, right, off the album. So this was a mega hit. It's been played so much. This is, they're gonna have to settle this, especially if they can actually show that you know, it was the wrong parties, or even if it wasn't the wrong parties, something was not done correctly, and therefore it's infringement. Also, I know you keep saying Beyonce is not named, but Parkwood is hers. So at the end of the day, yeah, she's basically named because she doesn't want her sales of her streaming of that song to stop. So no, she's not personally named, but at the end of the day, Parkwood is hers. And so I find it interesting. I formerly worked at Universal Music Group, and one of our jobs, it was a very short contract. Our job was literally to go back through everybody's contract that did not have a clause about new technology and how they were paid for new technology. So if your contract didn't say anything about new technology, you didn't get paid by Apple or Spotify or Pandora, any of these new things. And so they just weren't getting paid. So the record label had to take a huge do a huge settlement just to go back and pay these people new technology. So yeah, streaming alone of this song, let alone everything else, if it's going to be per infringement, this is a huge hit for her record.
All right. So if we're talking about per infringement, let's go to you, Attorney Sean Carter. Who takes care of this liability? Does it come from Parkwood? Does it come from insurance that Parkwood purchases for their company? How does that work, sir?
It's almost certainly probably going to be an insurance matter. They insure against these things, and they have to, because even when they try their best, there's a problem with copyright ownership. If you buy someone's house, right, you know who owns it, because you go to the county records and you look it up and they tell you. And every time you transfer that property, you have to file that with the county. And if you don't, by the way, if you buy a house but you don't file it, somebody else could sell your house and you just out of luck. But that's not the way it works with these copyrights. So what I imagine happens is they look at that song, and it was written by the Holiday guy, this small label. They go to him and say, "Hey, we want to license a song." He's like, "Ooh, I'm broke. Give me $35 and a ham sandwich." They give him the $35, but they put cheese on the sandwich, and then he doesn't tell them that he had sold those rights to someone else for $1,500. Probably because he was drunk when he did it. He did it in the bar. That's not a lot of money. And the problem is that other guy says, "Hey, these are my rights, all right, and you infringe my rights." So I think that at the very most, what happened here is that even if he wins, and he's got to be able to prove that, you know, this is a legitimate contract, that he gave the guy legitimate money for it, all that stuff. Even if he wins, all the statutory penalties for willful and intentional copyright violations, they'll go away. Right. And so he'll get paid some minimum amount. By the way, minimum might be several $1 million. And the insurance company will pay for that.
All right. Sorry.
No, I was going to say she's going to claim that it was a BFP, a bona fide purchaser, that you went in there, you did your research, you thought you had the right person, you paid the right person. It wasn't like you just used it and said, "Screw it, I'm not going to pay." So that's, you know, that's what it's all about, a BFP. And, you know,
do you remember the movie Why Do Fools Fall in Love? This was the whole premise of that movie with the Frankie Lyman thing, where all those widows came out. There was the salacious part, she's supposed to be a bigamist, but there was also the issue of who owned that song and whether or not they had the right rights. In this case, as attorney Ashley Carter indicated, this is Beyonce's company, and so that streamlines it a little bit. But in terms of your other question, in terms of who's liable, the label or the artist, if algoritmers are in the music industry now and they're performers and going to release music, what they should negotiate is an indemnification clause in their contract with the record label that ensures that even if they're personally found liable somehow, that they don't have to pay. And so that the record company will resolve that and indemnify them, which means give the money back to them if they end up being responsible. Because even when you do your due diligence, sometimes there is a mistake and Beyonce can argue she did it in good faith and have the BFP, like Attorney Weiss indicated, but the question of ownership is legitimate. Sean Carter brings up an interesting point with whether or not they create some sort of, in the future, title process for songs. That's interesting. That would be helpful, I think.
Yeah, all right. Christina R says that's more than 60 seconds, sir. I guess talking about Sean Carter. Then she says the penis privilege of it all. Well, we just listened to Miss Turner do more than 60 seconds. So there's penis and other privileges around here as well. All right, let's keep it moving, everybody. Parkwood, y'all flew too close to the creative sun. A bad license is like a bootleg, no matter how fierce the track. And babe, come on now. Even when you're not named, your empire is the one people want to dent. All right, everybody, this is the time of the show that we go back through our cases and we decide who's guilty or not guilty. First up, Drake Gates versus Kevin Gates. Is Kevin Gates guilty or not guilty of marital irreconcilable differences? Attorney Ashley Carty, what say you?
Definitely guilty. He was all on Basketball Wives with Brittany.
Attorney Turner?
He's definitely guilty of marital misconduct. Unfortunately, that won't matter because they're in California.
Attorney Weiss?
I have no clue. I honestly could not care.
You don't even know who he is. You care
about no, I know who he is and I know who she is, but I could care less.
Guilty, not guilty?
Sure, guilty.
All right, Attorney Carter?
No, Drake is guilty. And guilty
Drake or Dreka?
Dreka. And she's guilty of watching that calendar and being smart. And guys, if you're out there listening, your wife will know exactly how long you've been married. I have no idea how long I've been married. I know it's been a long time. All right. But my wife knows to the day, and she will have her stuff in order. And seriously, it is interesting that 80%, I think it was 70-80% of the divorces are initiated by women. Women keep track of stuff. All right. And so she obviously thought that this was a good time to do it for her. I ain't mad at her. Strategic as hell. I'm jealous. But yeah.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. We're going to find Kevin Gates guilty. Guilty as charged. You are not going to be able to go on national television with somebody that put up with your crap for 20 years and embarrass the hell out of her at this level. It's one thing to sleep with other women, but don't go on national television and embarrass her 20 years of relationship. Guilty as charged. Algorithms, drop down in the chat and tell me what your thoughts are. Is he guilty or not guilty? Next up, Shannon Sharpe. Is he guilty or not guilty? I'm already going to skip everybody's answers. Shannon Sharpe, you are guilty. Guilty as charged. We've said it before. Guilty for being just not smart in this situation. Thinking you're bigger than... No. You, baby, got checked. You are black. You are a black man in America, guilty, and you just made a very young single white female extremely wealthy. Guilty as charged. Algorithms, drop down in the chat. Tell us if he's guilty or not guilty. Next up, Gilbert Arenas, Attorney Turner. Is he guilty or not guilty for this little brothel, fun games, playing cards at his house?
We'll wait to see what the courts say, but he's guilty of underestimating the significance by making that video.
All right, Attorney Ashley Carter, guilty or not guilty? Gilbert Arena.
He's most likely at least guilty for perjury. So he's at least guilty on one of the charges.
Attorney Weiss, guilty? Not guilty?
He's guilty of booking a private flight to a place with no extradition.
Attorney Carter, guilty, not guilty?
He is guilty of making the same mistake over and over. Some of you don't remember, Gilbert Arenas was a great basketball player, was looking to be a superstar, and ended up getting in trouble. Guess what? Because he got in dispute with one of his teammates, and they start firing guns at each other over, guess what? Gambling.
Yep.
This fool cannot stay out of gambling trouble. Double guilty, and brother, get some hard-toe shoes.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. We're going to find Gilbert's guilty. Guilty for not learning from your lessons. Come on now. I can't take that these men are so talented, so successful, so wealthy, and now you have to hand it all over because you won't learn from your mistakes. Guilty as charged. All right, last but not least, I know y'all don't want to say it, but it's Beyonce. Guilty or not guilty of stealing up folks' music? Attorney Carter, what say you?
Look at that last picture. That woman in that picture ain't guilty of a damn thing. All right. They owe her money. They owe her money for mentioning her name. Look at that. Innocent.
Is that a slip?
That ain't slip. No, that ain't slip there. I know it's slip.
Around there. All right, Attorney Weiss, what say you?
I do not think she is guilty. I think she tried to check all the boxes, and some research department didn't do what they needed to do. He's going to get paid, but insurance should cover it.
All right, Attorney Turner.
I'm not a member of the Beehive, but I don't want them coming for me. So Beyonce was never guilty.
Attorney Ashley Carter. Come
well,
on,
I am a member of the Beehive. Even if I wasn't, she's not guilty because, again, more likely than not, there's something signed. There was some agreement put in place.
All right, I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. We're going to find Beyonce guilty of, let me get it out. Guilty of not having the right person to cross the T's and dot the I's. That's it. That's all. I'm sure she's got a lot going on. She has a tour. She's got to make all those costumes. She's got to pay all those dancers.
But that's not her job. Her job is not.
I understand, but at the end of the day, it's her brand. So Beyonce, listen to me. We love you. We don't want anything to happen to you. We don't even want these people to get money off of you. So hire somebody better. All right? Hire somebody better is all I got to say. All right, everybody. So we are back at our final thoughts of tonight. All right? Tonight wasn't about guilt. To me, it was about gravity. Gravity of divorce, gravity of sexual misconduct, gravity of unlicensed games, and gravity of getting a sample wrong when the whole world is watching. And that's the problem. She doesn't get the space to make a mistake. Fame is fragile. Money moves fast. And the law, it moves whether you're ready or not. Here in Celebrity Court, we don't cancel. We just cross-examine. Court is currently adjourned until the next verdict goes viral. Be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to continue to drop down in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share button. Invite people over. Also, be sure to get into it with these polls as the chat is still active. And don't forget to clip your favorite moment and tag us at Celebrity Court Show. Next week, the docket is on fire. A Grammy winner caught with a weapon, a Bravo star drowning in debt, and an NFL player accused of assault at a youth football camp. It's legal limbo for the rich and reckless. Don't forget to tune in, take a side, and drop your verdict because court is always in session, but tonight, court is now adjourned. Thank you for watching.